What is up, YouTube? My name's David Lee, and you're watching Asian with Cars. And we got my buddy Michael Tan, and he got the mat for Time Wizard 2025. What deck are you playing?
I'm playing Chaos Machina.
Chaos Machina. So last time we talked about LVMH, Louis Vuitton Machina is what you nicknamed it. So
Lightstorm Volcanic Machina.
Yes, and now you switched up and trying to do something else, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's get into it, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah. It's pretty simple Machina package. 3,
Yes.
3, 1.
Yes.
We have some light machines in here. Cyber Valley, Cyber Dragon, Cyber Eltanin, the real MVP. Rykos and Hamsters, Card Trooper, Chaos Sorcerer, Gores, Plague Spreader, Tragodia, Gale, Tukaius, and now onto the spells. Staples, and more staples. And finally the traps. MVP, some defense.
Awesome.
And all staple traps.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to extras. All right, moving on, extra deck.
8s, 7s, 5s, 6s, you know, like the deck
Your
can
typical
make
stuff.
just about any of these. It doesn't come up all the time, but extra deck space is not super tight, but you want all of these. This is actually really important.
Yeah, people think this is underrated. Like, people don't think it's worth even in Machina, but it's still a synchronable card. And we'll talk about that after.
To get over Titanium.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then moving on to side deck. All right, talking about side deck.
For the combo decks out there, for Vayu Turbo for Blackwing, and then more hate for Blackwing, for Vayu Turbo, and then generics.
Gotcha. Any hate against Forgs yet? Or I'm assuming this is for the Forgs.
This is for Forgs. I would argue this is for Forgs too. This
Yes.
Not only recycles your gear frames, but
Yes.
also outs your extra deck stuff.
Underrated.
Very, very strong.
Yes. I'm assuming this is also for Forgs, for like Sancto Borg last
Exactly.
week. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. We'll circle back about sides in a bit. Okay, we're back. Let's talk about Machina. So, Cyber Eltanin, what's going on there?
Mainly it's a way to really increase the ceiling of the deck. When I think about Machina, I think it's a great tournament deck because it's super consistent. You have all these starters.
Yes.
But I think the ceiling deck's not very high, and when I lose, it's because I'm losing to my opponent's really unfair cards. I'm losing to Dupe Block, I'm losing to Dad, I'm getting OTK'd, and Eltanin and some of these Chaos cards are really a way for me to sort of borrow some of the unfairness from the other decks. I'm of the opinion that RFDD is the single best card in Edison Format.
Yes.
No other card lets you summon 5, no other card lets you go plus a bajillion. I'm really looking for ways that Machina can use this best card, even though maybe it's not the best user of it, but it's a really consistent deck.
So, does Cyber Eltanin have something to do with banishing?
It does. So what you need is, you need to play light machines. We have 4 light machines in Cyber Dragon and Cyber Valley here. You banish your light machines, and it's a non-target, non-destruction out to any board. So this is good against any Ford field. It's good against Dupe Block. It's good against the Titanial Stardust Power Tool Dragon boards that Gigabyte decks can put out. So it's really a generic out where the rest of the Machina deck is really reliant on destroying things by battle. This is non-destruction, non-targeting removal.
Yes. Awesome. And then let's talk about some of the traps over here. This is pretty typical, but traps over here. So trap stun, what's the reasoning behind that right now?
Trap stun is a general concession to Vayu, to Blackwing. I mean, as a Machina player, everyone knows that the worst feeling in the world is when you get bottomless or you get deep risen after putting 2 cards into this.
Yes.
That's also kind of why you're playing RFDD too, right? Is because you're making, you're softening the blow whenever you get bottomless or deep risen.
Awesome. So typically with the extra deck over here, it's pretty typical, but Gothams and Plague, what does it do for you?
It helps me beat over Titanial. It helps me beat over Blue Eyes White Dragon in case I'm playing Dragon Turbo. Machina actually kind of has trouble outing really large monsters, so it's an answer to that.
Right. How often does it happen with Gothams?
With Gothams, depends on the matchup. Against plants, all the time. Against Dragon Turbo, pretty often. What's really strong is, of course, if you have a level 10 machine in your hand, so you can sync this off for Gothams, and then you can just bring back your fortress.
Yes.
And playing spreader, is super flexible, right? You're playing tons of 4s, you're playing a few 3s, you're getting into the best extra deck cards with this card.
Right. All right, let's talk about side deck. So
Sure.
we did talk about side deck previously, but let's do a deck analysis about like why some of the things are over here. So we did talk about the combo stoppers, but obviously like saying so Kaiku. I'm assuming Kaiku's for value. Pulling the rug. What's that for typically?
Pulling the rug is for the mirror because you're on 3 gear frame. You're on sometimes 2, sometimes 3 Caius. So it's really good going first. And of course, frogs are still everywhere. And I would say this deck has a much better matchup against frogs than your other Machina decks, but you still need the help sometimes.
Gotcha. And saying so, Lila and Destinator, what's the use case for it right now?
I actually don't really like Lila. It's not that good against Blackwing because sometimes, oftentimes you'll get Sure or Borad.
Yeah.
It's okay against GBs, but really it's against Vayu to hit, Bottomless or Floodgates, and it's a searchable out. You kind of play it because it's searchable.
Right.
Destornadoes and Trap Stuns. I'm maining 1 Trap Stun, but I actually think this card is a lot better than this card against decks playing Raigeki Break, decks playing Reckless Greed.
Yes.
Because you don't have to wait for end phase, Dust Tornado. You can wait for them to activate it and make sure you're getting value out of your Trap Stun.
Yes.
But this is, purely against Blackwing and a few other Floodgate type decks.
So would you say that Trap Stun's making a resurgence right now?
Absolutely. I think Trap Stun is really good against Icarus attack. It's good against DDV if they're silly enough to keep that in against you. And it's just good to know exactly which trap card you're negating rather than blindly hitting it with Dust Tornado.
Right. What was your record in the pods? Like, what were your matchups in pods?
Yeah, I played 2 Blackwing and 1 Fork deck.
And you beat the Fork deck, I'm assuming.
Yes, I did.
And that was your only pod today?
That was my only pod.
Wow. And then I'm assuming in Ultimate Time Wizard, you tried to play, you got 2 losses, and then dropped down and moved into pods, right?
That's right. I went 4-2, lost in the mirror and lost to some bad luck in the other matchup, frankly. But
that's Yu-Gi-Oh,
4-2
right?
was okay, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right. Is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, a ton of people. So shout outs to Hector from Austin for giving me the ride. Shout outs to the rest of the Austin Yu-Gi-Oh community. And then shout outs to all my opponents on DB who lagged out and quit and cussed me out and tell me I'm terrible at the game.
Oh my god. Is it because this is a very frustrating deck?
Yeah, Cyber Eltanin is not a card that most people have read. And, people...
It's just a clear board that says send to the graveyard, not destroy.
Yeah, the amount of times you have to explain it doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, so you can't Stardust or Titanial it. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, it just reminds me of plenty of other cards that are in Edison that are kind of hard to pull off, except Eltanin's relatively easy to pull off.
I think so.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.